Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Well, I think that, we don't learn anything from success. It's really when we stumble that we learn a lot. And in fact, I'm very grateful. Every time in my life when I've stumbled, it has led to growth and it has led to learning and stuff. And I think that period from 2007 to 2009 was a wonderful period from a growth and learning perspective. In fact, I'm reaping a lot of the rewards of some of the lessons already. So, well, I think one of the things that went wrong was hubris. So I had gone the entire period the funds ran from 99 to 2007. We never had a down year. So not only did we do 37.2% before fees, we never had negative returns in any single year, including including the popping of the NASDAQ bubble and all that. Including through all that period, in fact, that helped us because there were all these other stocks that were undervalued. And so I think there was hubris in the sense that I think there was maybe a bit of build-up of thinking that couldn't do anything wrong. And the second was that I never at all saw the housing bubble. I completely missed seeing that. And there were investments that I had made which in hindsight were very dependent on a functioning financial system. So basically what happened in 2008 and 2009 was that the financial system in the US basically was out of oxygen. It just couldn't breathe. And so I had companies that were dependent on, in my portfolio, who were dependent on access to capital markets, access to financing, access to all that. And then when you just cut that off, they just went on a tailspin. And of course, I run a concentrated portfolio. So we, like in one case, a company called Delta Financial, we took a $65 million loss, 65 million to zero, And another case, we took almost a $40 million loss. So we had, on one hand, we had permanent losses in some cases, which took us down. In other cases, what happened is the entire market fell down. Like I was saying, that things get overvalued or undervalued. We had things that were solid businesses. They were just knocked down in price. And the big problem I had at that time was that we were fully invested and we had no ability to be offensive, to actually go and buy. The best thing at that time would have been to go and buy, but I had no cash. Not only did I not have cash, but I had redemptions from investors. So I had to raise cash to redeem people. And I'm basically exiting them in my exiting positions, which are pennies on the dollar. And so that compounded the problem. So one basic lesson, cash is king. So one of the reasons I put in those rules where returns need to be at least 5x or greater for the last 10% of cash is that's hard to find. That's not easy to find. And that means you're basically riding with a cushion. So most of last year, we were sitting on more than 20% of cash, for example. In fact, even now I'm sitting on just around 10% of cash. And so that's a big change from literally from the time I started in 95 till 2007, there were very few periods where we actually held cash. We always were almost fully invested. So one change we made is a very healthy appreciation for holding cash. The other two changes I made were I came up with this investment checklist, which is a whole different presentation. But basically, it's very powerful. It's looking at the mistakes that other great investors have made and why they made them, and whether those mistakes would have been obvious to spot at the time the investment was made. And in many cases, it is. Someone makes an investment, you can tell right up front that there's a problem. And so the checklist has been very useful in catching those. I started having a conversation with another investment manager, which has been very useful. And then the cash, of course, has been useful. And basically, I think that, maybe I'll just digress a little bit. when one of the biographies in Warren Buffett came out, Snowball, which was written by Alice Schroeder, she said that as a kid, when Warren Buffett was a child, he used to walk in a strange way. He used to walk with his knees kind of somewhat bent, and then walk. And the reason he did that was to absolutely take out any probability of him falling. Very careful kid, not trying to fall. And in fact, the way Warren Buffett picks stocks is the same. He's extremely, spent most of his time on the downside. He looks at how can I lose money, is where he spends most of his time and energy, not how much money can I make on this. What will cause me to lose money on it? Just like, how will I fall down? What will cause me to fall down? And so there's a much greater appreciation since 2007 or 2009 on the downside. So I just spend a lot more, and the checklist, of course, forces that. But I, question and re-question many, many times, how would I lose money on an investment? And if I can absolutely convince myself that I can't, and even then, of course, we will be wrong, it has lowered the error rate. So those are some of the lessons.